Imagine a world where darkness ruled, where a people cried out for freedom, their voices lost in the shadows of oppression. Then a whisper of hope, not from a mighty army, but from a miracle. A baby, born with a destiny so grand, so powerful, it would shake the very foundations of an empire. This isn't just a story from an old book. It's a raw, intense journey into the life of a man chosen by God, yet constantly battling his own desires. Forget what you think you know about Samson, the strong man. Prepare to discover the hidden truths, the shocking choices, and the incredible power that flowed through a man who was both a hero and a human mess. His life was a whirlwind of divine purpose and personal mistakes, a story that began with a heavenly announcement and ended in a blaze of glory and heartbreak. Get ready to see Samson like never before, a tale of strength, temptation, and a surprising path to redemption. Before Samson was even a thought in his parents' minds, an angel, a messenger from God, appeared to his mother. She had been unable to have children, but the angel brought incredible news. She would have a son. This son would be special, chosen by God to save Israel from their enemies, the Philistines. But there was a condition, a sacred promise. This child would be a Nazirite from birth. What did that mean? It meant 3 important rules. No razor could ever touch his hair. He couldn't drink wine or eat anything from grapes, and he couldn't touch anything unclean, especially dead bodies. These rules weren't just random. They were the source of his amazing strength, a direct connection to God's power. Can you imagine growing up with such a huge secret, knowing you were destined for something extraordinary, but also bound by rules that made you different from everyone else? This special calling, however, often clashed with Samson's own desires. He was a man who loved excitement, who was drawn to things he shouldn't have, and this part of his personality would lead him down a path of both amazing victories and painful mistakes. As Samson grew from a boy into a young man, something incredible began to happen. The Spirit of the Lord, God's powerful presence, started to move him. This wasn't just a feeling. It was a surge of supernatural power that would show itself in astonishing ways. His very first big display of strength happened when he was on his way to Timnah, a Philistine city. Suddenly, a young lion roared and attacked him. Most people would have run in terror, but Samson, filled with divine strength, tore the lion apart with his bare hands, as easily as if it were a small goat. No sword, no spear, just pure, raw power. This event wasn't just about strength. It was a sign of the incredible power that was available to him because of his special vow to God. Yet, even with this amazing power, Samson often let his personal desires guide his actions. He went to Timnah because he saw a Philistine woman there and decided he wanted to marry her. His parents were shocked and tried to stop him. Why would he choose a woman from their enemies, the very people he was supposed to deliver Israel from? But what seemed like a rebellious choice was actually part of God's bigger plan. God used Samson's personal choices, even his mistakes, to create conflict with the Philistines. It's a strange but powerful idea. God can work through imperfect people and their flawed decisions to achieve his purposes. Samson was a champion, yes, but he was also a deeply complicated man, always fighting against his own strong desires. This constant struggle between his divine calling and his human weaknesses makes his story so real and relatable. He was a hero, but a very human one, often driven by his own feelings rather than careful thought. His life was a series of dramatic events, each one showing his incredible power, but also his personal struggles. If you're finding this journey into Samson's life as captivating as we are, and you're hungry for more stories that reveal the unexpected twists of destiny, then you're in the right place. Our channel is just starting and we're building something special here. You have the chance to be one of the very first to join our community, to literally make history with us. Don't just watch. Become a part of our story. Hit that subscribe button right now and be a pioneer. Samson's marriage to the Philistine woman was a disaster from the start. It was filled with drama, riddles, and eventually, betrayal. At his wedding feast, Samson, feeling confident, proposed a riddle to the Philistines. If they could solve it, he would give them 30 linen garments and 30 changes of clothes. If not, they would owe him the same. The riddle was about the lion he had killed, and the honey he later found inside its carcass. Out of the eater came something to eat. Out of the strong came something sweet. The Philistines couldn't solve it, so they threatened his wife, telling her they would burn her and her father's house if she didn't get the answer from Samson. Under immense pressure, she cried and nagged Samson until he finally told her the answer. She then immediately told her people. Enraged by their deceit, Samson, filled with the Spirit of the Lord, went down to Ashkelon, killed 30 Philistine men, took their clothes, and gave them to those who had solved the riddle. This act of violence, though provoked, showed his explosive temper and his tendency to react with overwhelming force. He then left his wife and went back to his father's house. Later, when he returned to claim his wife, he found out her father had given her to another man. This betrayal ignited another wave of Samson's fury. In a shocking act of revenge, he caught 300 foxes, tied their tails together in pairs, put torches between their tails, and set them loose in the Philistine grain fields. The fire destroyed their crops, vineyards, and olive groves. The Philistines, realizing Samson's former father-in-law was responsible, burned him and his daughter to death. Samson in turn attacked them again, striking them with a great slaughter. His most famous act of strength came when the Philistines captured him and bound him with new ropes. But the Spirit of the Lord came upon him mightily, and the ropes became like burnt flax on his arms. He found the fresh jawbone of a donkey and used it to kill 1,000 Philistine men. Imagine the scene. One man, armed with nothing but a bone, standing victorious over 1,000 fallen warriors. It's a picture of raw, unstoppable power. Despite these incredible victories, Samson remained strangely drawn to the Philistine world, especially their women. This was his fatal flaw, a weakness that would eventually lead to his downfall. His path led him to the valley of Sorek, where he met Delilah. She was beautiful, charming, and utterly treacherous. The Philistine leaders, desperate to finally defeat Samson, offered Delilah a huge amount of silver to discover the secret of his strength. They knew they couldn't beat him in battle. They had to find his weakness. 3 times, Delilah tried to trick Samson into revealing his secret. Each time, Samson, with a playful but dangerous cleverness, gave her a false answer. First, he said if he was tied with 7 fresh bowstrings, he would become weak. She tied him, and he snapped them like thread. Then he said if he was tied with new ropes that had never been used, he would become weak. She tied him and he broke them like string. Next, he told her to weave the 7 locks of his hair into the fabric on a loom. She did, and he pulled it out, loom and all. This back-and-forth game shows Samson's overconfidence, his belief that he was invincible, or perhaps he just enjoyed playing with danger. But Delilah was persistent. She nagged him day after day, wearing him down until, as the Bible says, his soul was vexed to death. He finally couldn't take it anymore. He revealed the truth. His strength came from his Nazirite vow, specifically from his hair, which had never been cut. This wasn't magic. It was a symbol of his special promise to God. When that symbol was broken, his connection to God's power would be severed. While Samson was asleep, exhausted from Delilah's constant nagging, she called for a man to shave off the 7 braids of his hair. The moment the razor touched his head, his strength left him. He was no longer the mighty Samson. When he woke up, he thought he could just shake himself free as he had done before, but he didn't realize that the Lord had left him. The Philistines, who had been waiting, immediately seized him. Their revenge was brutal and symbolic. They gouged out his eyes, leaving him blind. The man who had seen so much, who had been a beacon of hope for Israel, was now plunged into darkness. This act wasn't just physical. It represented his spiritual blindness, his failure to see the consequences of his actions, and his disregard for his sacred vows. The once feared champion, who had torn apart lions and slain thousands of enemies, was now a helpless prisoner. They took him to Gaza, put him in chains, and forced him to grind grain in the prison, a humiliating task usually reserved for animals or the lowest slaves. Imagine the despair, the regret, the sheer physical and emotional pain of such a fall. from a divinely appointed deliverer to a blind, enslaved mill worker. It was the ultimate degradation for a man who had been set apart from birth. Yet, even in this darkest hour, a small, almost unnoticed detail emerges from the biblical text. His hair began to grow again. This wasn't just a physical regrowth. It was a quiet sign of hope, a hint that God had not completely abandoned him. It suggested that even after profound failure, betrayal, and immense suffering, there was still a possibility for a renewed connection with God, a chance for a final act of purpose. This subtle detail is crucial, showing that God's mercy and patience are far greater than human failings. It implies that even when we stray far from our path, a way back or a way forward can still be found. The Philistines, in their arrogance and triumph, decided to hold a massive celebration. They gathered thousands of people in their grand temple, dedicated to Dagon, their fish god. It was a day of feasting, sacrifices, and mocking their defeated enemy. They brought Samson out of the prison, parading him before the cheering crowds. The once mighty hero, now blind and chained, was forced to entertain them, to be a spectacle of their victory. Imagine the scene, the jeers, the laughter, the sheer humiliation for a man who had once been their terror. Samson, guided by a young boy, was led to stand between the two central pillars that supported the entire temple. He was weak, broken, and utterly dependent. But in that moment, something shifted within him. He didn't ask for freedom or for his sight back. He made a desperate, humble prayer to the Lord, the God he had so often neglected and disobeyed. He cried out, "Sovereign Lord, remember me. Please, God, strengthen me just one more time, and let me with one blow get revenge on the Philistines for my 2 eyes." This was not a prayer for personal glory, but for a final act of justice, a last fulfillment of his divine purpose. He leaned with all his remaining might against the pillars, one with his right hand and the other with his left. And Samson said, "Let me die with the Philistines." With a final superhuman effort, a strength that could only come from God, he pushed. The massive pillars groaned, then cracked, and the entire temple collapsed. Thousands of Philistines, including their lords and ladies, were crushed beneath the rubble. In his death, Samson killed more of his enemies than he had killed in his entire life. This final explosive act was both a tragic end and a powerful victory. It shows the complex nature of Samson, a man whose life was full of contradictions, who made many mistakes, but whose ultimate purpose, despite his flaws, was finally fulfilled. His story is a powerful reminder that even in our weakest moments, even after we fail, God's plan can still prevail. It's a testament to the incredible power of faith even when that faith is imperfectly lived. Samson's life teaches us that God can use anyone, even the most flawed among us, to achieve his purposes, and that true strength comes not just from physical power, but from a connection to something greater than ourselves. If Samson's incredible dramatic journey has captivated you, and you're hungry for more stories that dive deep into the mysteries of human nature and divine intervention, then you've absolutely found the right place. We are building a vibrant community here, and your support means everything to us. Don't just watch history unfold, become an active part of it. Subscribe to our channel right now. Be the one who helps us grow from the very beginning. And if you're interested in exploring these profound narratives even further, a direct link to an in-depth study Bible will be waiting for you in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and we can't wait to see you in our next video.